Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. Today we're going to be building another house in this little farming village that we started for the Graywatch build. And I know you guys probably wanted, I saw a few comments that said you guys wanted a tutorial on the barn or the inn. There was nothing about a house, but I think it would be kind of weird to have another set of those in this town. So I think I'll wait and do a tutorial on those once we move on to maybe the next farming village or the main city itself. So today we're going to be starting off by doing another house sort of similar to this one, but I'm going to be making a few changes just once again so we don't end up with the same thing. So for this, to start out, we're going to need some of this spruce wood log, and wherever I place one block, you're going to do a pillar of 4 just like this. So we'll start on the far left, and by the way, the door is going to be right here. And really quick, if you need to see, I'll do a little overhead view so you guys can see how big this house is roughly going to be. And keep in mind that there are going to be overhangs that extend out a little farther than these if you do need to make room for that. So to begin with, on the far left, we're going to place one pillar right here, and once again that is going to be 4 blocks tall. And then for the next block, we're going to skip a gap of 3 like this and place the next pillar there. Then we'll move forward, skipping another gap of 1, and then we'll move right, skipping a gap of 3. Then once again we'll skip a gap of 1, moving forward like this. And then now for the doorway, we're going to skip a gap of 3 like this and stick our door right there in the middle. And then our next step after that is going to be to move forward, once again using this gap of 3. And then so now we're going to be on the back side of the build right over here, and to the left we're going to skip a gap of 3 like this. Then we'll move forward, skipping a gap of 1. Then we'll move left again, skipping another gap of 3. Then we'll move back, skipping a gap of 1. And then left again with the gap of 3, back with the gap of 3, and then that should finish off this little section with the last gap of 3 right there. And then one more place where you may want to stick a pillar just for now is going to be right here. That could end up helping, but other than that, just go ahead and raise all these blocks up 3 more so they end up being 4 tall in total. Now once this is complete, our next step is going to be to add some cross beams connecting all of these pillars together. And if you do see this one we have in the middle, there's probably going to be no need to connect that one, but other than that you can just connect them all with a cross beam just like this. And once that's complete, you should have ended up with something similar to this. And now for the next thing that we need to do, we're going to add some supports or some foundations to our build. And that's going to be accomplished by placing in a stair on the bottom, and then on top of the stair, we're going to place a half slab like this. And this is going to be the stone brick material. So the places where you're going to want to stick these foundations will be on all the flat spots around most of our pillars. The only places where you're not going to need these will be, of course, on this one on the inside and on the corners as well. Then after placing those in, we can move on to one of the final steps for stabilizing our first floor, and that's going to be to place a sticky addy bit with our spruce wood logs right above each one of those support things. So you have a gap of 2 like this, and then beneath those you can place in a spruce wood stair just like this, and you can go ahead and do these all the way around and make sure not to place them on the inside or in the corners, just like you did for the foundations. And now last but not least, for the first floor we are going to want to put in some walls, and it turns out we don't really need this pillar after all. So for the walls, what we're going to do is place in a base layer of the stone brick full blocks like this, and go ahead and put that all the way around the build, and then on top of that we can use mainly some stone bricks. So what you're going to want to do to start out with is just fill in every wall, and then after this we can go around and carve out some windows wherever we think they're going to look best. Now for the windows, where you place these in is really going to depend on what your landscape looks like, and by that I mean you're not really going to want to place in some windows on the back, say here, where all it's going to be looking at is a wall of rocks or grass. But if you do have some open spots on the front or sides like I do, where it kind of looks out at a nice giant field or towards the road or something, that could end up being a good spot for a window. So I'm going to be placing 2 on the front and 2 on the sides like this, and then even somewhere over here really isn't too bad of a spot, so I'm also going to add in a window right there. But since I don't really have anything nice to look at on the back side of the build, I'm going to leave those as blank walls like this. And now for my windows, what I'm going to do is take my light stained glass and just fill it in all the gaps. Now that all of the windows are in, we're going to move up and start shaping our roof. Now for this, all you have to do is go up to like this on the left and the right side, and then as you work your way up, it's going to continue going up to until you reach the very top. That's where we're going to start to round out the roof, and to achieve that, you're just going to use 1 block on the top like that. Now for other places where we want to add these roof shapes in, there's going to be one on the left side in the middle of this wall, And I forgot to mention that you will need to add in 2 more of these to achieve this. So we're going to start by placing these in, and then of course, since I already showed you how to do that one on the front, it's going to be the exact same for all of the others. The third spot where we're going to add one of these roof shapes in will be right here on the back, and then right next to it we're going to add 1 more of these right here, and our second to last one is going to be over on the right side of the build on this section right here, and then our final one is going to be right here, once again facing the front, and these ones are going to be close as well as these ones on the back, but in the end it should give it a lot more detail. And now if you did that correctly, you should end up with something that looks quite similar to this. And one more thing I did forget to mention for the first floor is that you can add some of these half slabs in just to give the bottom a bit more support, and where I like to place these are just on most of the 3 wide gaps, which I think are pretty much everywhere on this build, but really it just gives it a lot more support and detail on the bottom. Now after you've placed all those in, we can switch it up by grabbing some spruce wood half slabs, and beneath each one of these we can place in a layer like this, and then on top of those we'll do a row of fences like that. So these things are going to be placed in right below or in the middle of each one of these roof shapes, and they really are quite simple. Next up, what we're going to do is place in some cross beams to make it easier to build our roof. Now where you're going to place these in is on the very tops like this, and just have them cross over so they pretty much touch each other like this. So you're going to have these on the top, and then you'll also want to place in 2 more on each side. So one will be on the top of this too tall section, and then the other one will be on the top of this too tall section like this, and these are just going to cross all the way to the other side until each one of the roofs connect. And if you place those in correctly, you should end up with something like this, although some parts could be a bit tricky. So what I'm going to do really quick is just give you guys a fly around and then also an overhead view, just to make sure you got everything in the right spot. Now for our next step, what we're going to do is fill in most of these big open sections with our wall material for the second floor. And for me, that's going to be the white stained clay. However, if you are in the default texture pack or another one where maybe this doesn't look so good, you could always just go about using some white wool or maybe even snow, whatever you think looks best. So for the main large sections like this where it's really open, we're just going to fill in the whole thing, and then we'll carve out our windows later. And then the other places where you're going to want to add these blocks in will be right below each one of our spruce wood cross beams that connected the roof together. So we'll place in some right here, and then also beneath this one, and then pretty much from here on out it's going to be the exact same for all the other spots on the second floor. So for the windows, we're going to add some of these in on every single one of the roof shape sections, or you could call them, I guess, the upside down V's or triangles. And then one last thing that we want to add in before we start placing in the main building materials on our roof, such as the spruce wood or some of the clay blocks, is going to be some sticky addy bits on a roof, just to give it a bit more shape, like you see right here. So these are going to be placed in on the tops of the first little 2 high section on each one of the triangle shapes, and just go ahead and place these all the way around the build wherever you see that there is room for them. Now because all of the roof shapes are going to be the exact same, what I'm going to do is only demonstrate how to build one of these, and hopefully that should be enough to kind of show you guys how to build all of the others. So for this, we're going to start by using 2 of these full blocks. These are going to be the only full blocks you'll need for the roof design. We'll place each of those right there on top of the first 2 high section, and then beneath those we will place in 2 upside down stairs like this, and then on the sides of the upside down stairs we will do 2 upright stairs just like that, and then the rest of it will pretty much be regular stairs, and there's going to be a couple half slabs thrown in there. So just use the regular stairs to sort of work your way up until you get to the top, and then on that top block you're going to throw in a half slab like this. Then on top of the half slab you're going to place in a full block, and then on the sort of front face of that full block we're going to place in an upside down stair like this. And then this is where it kind of gets up to you guys and what you want to do. So say if you want to do what I'm doing and sort of make it a more medieval fantasy style, once again you can just place in that half slab, or if you want to make it more Nordic you can do a stair like this. And then lastly there is the choice of making it a bit elvish looking, in that way you can do some sort of design like that. But for me, as I said before, I am going to stick it like this and make it a bit more medieval, and then that of course is how you make the roof shape. And next, before we move on to placing in most of the full blocks or whatever material you want to use for the main portion of our roof, what we're going to do is finish off everything we need with our spruce wood. So you're going to place in some stairs like this on most of the flat spots of the roof to sort of connect everything together. And then a couple more cool things you can do to finish this build off is maybe add a little roofed section above the doorway. And for that, you're going to go right above this stair here and just go 1, 2, 3. And then from there, you can just kind of work your way up until you reach the side of the wall, which would be right here. And then of course, just connect all of these together until you hit the other side of the wall. And it's going to be something like this. And then if you want to sort of bolt this to the ground, you can either grab, I don't know, maybe some fences or the cobblestone walls if you want to do that. And then it'll just look something like this. In fact, I'm just going to remove that one completely, and I think that looks a bit better. And then if you want to, you can also, if this will place in nicely, I don't think it will, but you could add maybe one in there. I don't think that'll work, but what else do we need to do? Oh yeah, there's going to be the tops of this if you want. And then one other thing, since we do have the fences in hand, what you can do is just place a fence right above each one of these little sticky addy bits, right above, I guess, where we placed in the pillars on the first floor. So wherever you see these, just go ahead and throw these fences in. And I've noticed it does add a lot more detail, and it kind of breaks up the flat spots of the roof, or not the roof, but the walls. And then one other thing, if you do notice that you come in contact with something like this, where it sort of makes a corner shape like this, probably don't place one in there. I think that's the one exception where you don't want to use a fence. But say for these two, definitely go ahead and put those in. And then what I was talking about for the tops of the roof, you're going to want to find yourself a half slab like this, and then wherever you have sort of a crossroad or a fork in the road on the roof, if you want to call it that, that's where you're going to want to place in the half slabs. And then pretty much everywhere else can be used with the stairs. So the first direction you want to place it is sort of facing towards the other spruce wood blocks. So you're going to place this one here, and I'll just do the same thing as I go all the way around like this. But then every other stair that you place in is going to be facing the opposite direction, pointing in towards that half slab until they all meet in the middle like this. And now comes the main portion of the roof. Now there's going to be some of you that don't like the looks of the full blocks. Let me just show you that really quick. And in this case, I'm going to use the gray stained clay just so it kind of matches up with the other house we have in this town. Now some of you may not like this, but I really do. I think it adds a nice mixture between the different roof styles in our town. It kind of separates the lower class from the higher class, the different types. So maybe if this one's a store, it separates that from being a house. But if you don't like the looks of that and you kind of want to keep it the normal thing, you can always just go about sticking with the simple thing and going and using some oak wood blocks. And where you're going to want to place these is just so it matches up with the outside design that we made earlier. So wherever there's a stair on the outside, there's going to be a stair on the inside. Wherever there's a full block on the outside, you're going to use a full block on the inside. It's that simple. And now the roof is done, so the final thing I usually like to do when building is fly around and make sure there's no spots that look too plain or too cluttered. So say for this one, what I did was switch it up to a flower pot just to sort of break up how similar every single wall was looking. But what I usually really like to do is check the roofs and make sure those aren't looking too plain. So of course the front's looking good. We got a nice mixture. We have these two here and then a more flat one right there, and the sort of overhang little, I guess, walkway cover right there. And then let's see if we move on to the left side. So this one, the only problem I had with this is it's looking a bit too similar. So maybe what you'd want to do to make it a little less symmetrical on this left side is you could add another little walkway cover like we did for the front, and I think that could be a nice fix. But other than that little side right there on the left, everything really does look pretty nice and unsymmetrical, and it just really fits together quite nicely. But anyways guys, that's going to do it for today. Make sure and let me know what you thought of this build down in the comments, or if you do want to see more, let me know about that. Also, if you have any ideas for future builds in this style, or maybe any other styles that you want to see, you can also let me know about that. But make sure and stay tuned for the interior show round. In that, I'll probably show you how to make some cool stuff for the inside, make it decorated and everything, and also find a good place for a fireplace. Still not sure where the hell I'm going to put that in. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, I will see you in the next one.